Guys, the people of Minnesota are coming out in full force to say we will not have Nazis and people that act like the Gestapo running through our city, terrorizing our citizens, making sure that our neighbors feel like they're unsafe. Like the people of Minnesota are really showing what it means to truly be an American when it feels so hard to want to hold on to this attachment of being American. Now, if you don't understand what's going on currently in Minnesota, there has been the killing of Renee Good. There has been them picking up a 5-year old, detaining him, using him as bait for his father. And now we're even hearing that they're targeting police officers if they're not in police uniform, if they have any type of pigment in their skin. Now, before we hop into that, y'all don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers before the end of this month. And let's hop straight into that clip.
Good. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Bruley, Police Chief of the City of Brooklyn Park. Behind me is a bunch of amazing police chiefs that are here in support of a very short but very important message that we want to share with you. What you won't hear from many of us today is rhetoric of abolish ICE or that there shouldn't be immigration enforcement. The truth is, immigration enforcement is necessary for our national security and for local security. But how it's done is extremely important. In fact, we have a long history of working exceptionally well with our federal partners, including ICE agents, and we have seen the best of them perform their job extremely well in the past. With that said, recently, as the last 2 weeks, we, as law enforcement community, have been receiving endless complaints about civil rights violations in our streets from U.S. citizens. What we're hearing is they're being stopped in traffic stops or on the street with no cause and being forced to demand paperwork to determine if they are here legally. As this went on over the past 2 weeks, we started hearing from our police officers the same complaints as they fell victim to this while off duty. Every one of these individuals is a person of color who has had this happen to them. In Brooklyn Park, one particular officer that shared her story with me was stopped as she passed ICE going down the roadway. When they boxed her in, they demanded her paperwork, of which she's a U.S. citizen and clearly would not have any paperwork. When she became concerned about the rhetoric and the way she was being treated, she pulled out her phone. In an attempt to record the incident, the phone was knocked out of her hands, prevented her from recording it. The officer had their guns drawn during this interaction. And after the officer became so concerned, they were forced to identify themselves as a Brooklyn Park police officer in hopes of slowing the incident and de-escalating the incident down. The agents then immediately left after hearing this, making no other comments, no other apologies, just got in their vehicles and left. I wish I could tell you that this was an isolated incident. In fact, many of the chiefs standing behind me have similar incidents with their off-duty officers. This isn't just important because it happened to off-duty police officers, but what it did do is we know that our officers know what the Constitution is, they know what right and wrong is, and they know when people are being targeted, and that's what they were. If it is happening to our officers, it pains me to think of how many of our community members are falling victim to this every day.
And I'm glad he highlighted that. If it's happening to their off-duty officers who just happen to be of color for some reason, it's not the white officers, it's the only ones that have a little bit of pigment, a little bit of melanin, then what does that tell you of what they're doing to ordinary citizens who do not have that badge of the blue to help protect them and slow them down from throwing them on the ground as we have been seeing, brutalizing them, and taking away their civil rights? These officers, they know their civil rights because guess what? Unlike the ICE agents who's only get 47 days, they go to training for months. They go to a police academy. They're endlessly trained over and over to know how to interact with the public. ICE officers who do not have that training are using their badge to get anyone that's black and brown, and they're doing it indiscriminately. And if they're targeting police officers, as he said, imagine what they're doing to regular, everyday citizens might not be as familiar with their rights, who might not have that badge to help and back them. Now, JD Vance was told about what this police officer said. Listen to what he had to say.
Local police chiefs have said their own off-duty officers, so police officers, are being targeted because they are a person of color and asked to show their papers. Is that a concern of the administration of the Department of Homeland Security? If local law enforcement says their own officers are being targeted and they described it as, quote, civil rights violations in our streets.
So I saw one story about this and one local police officer who said this, and look, certainly is it a concern? Absolutely. The first thing we have to figure out is whether it happened or not, and then if it happened, whether there is a good explanation or a bad explanation. And of course, if somebody violated the law, if somebody racially profiled, if somebody violated the rights of one of our fellow citizens, that is something we will take very seriously. What I also would say is that many of the most viral stories of the past couple of weeks have turned out to be, at best, partially true. So we want to try people based on reality, based on the truth, based on context. We're not going to prejudge people just because of viral social media story that turned out to be half false.
You saw what he did there. He tried to cast doubt on the fact that this police chief said it was not just his officers. He had a group of other police chiefs from other cities in that area that would say it is not just my officers. They are all of our officers who have off-duty officers who are not in uniform, who are getting stopped, who are getting pulled over. He had that one story of the woman who had a weapon pointed in her face. You see how fast they like to discredit. I thought it was back the blue Republicans. You can't back the blue and also discredit police officers at the exact same time. But y'all tell me what y'all think about all this in the comments. I just want to highlight the hypocrisy of the Republicans in this video. You're not making these communities safer. And I just want to also highlight how the communities are coming together. Police officers, local law enforcement. They're saying we normally work with ICE. They did. Remember, Obama was the deporter in chief. They like to show the picture now of Obama giving Tom Holman a medal for what he did with immigration. But guess what? The tactics that Tom Holman used underneath the Obama administration was completely different. They didn't use the same tactics. They were able to work with local and state level politicians and law enforcement to make sure that these ICE detainees were taken in a humane way that goes with our laws of our nation. But guys, thank y'all so much for watching this video with me. Y'all, please let me know how y'all are feeling about all this. If y'all are proud of the people in Minnesota that are actually standing up and voicing their rights. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of this month, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.